Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo rant. We have got plenty of questions to get at today. We're going to jump to them in just a moment, but before we do, don't forget the YouTube magic. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below using the word Kendo. That is very, very important so that the YouTube ninja robots go out and get more people to start Kendo. We've already had 762 billion people start Kendo since yesterday morning, and we're hoping to get the same again by the end of today. All right, so please make sure that you do those things: like, share, subscribe, and write a comment using the word Kendo. This is the best Kendo channel I've ever seen. What a great Kendo video, that sort of thing. If you do that, make sure that people actually do start Kendo. All right, you have to use the word Kendo. That's why that's important. Secondly, and most importantly, if you like this video and the videos that I put out, whether it's these Q&A style videos, whether it's the feedback videos, put one out yesterday, whether it's the instructional content, we've got some more instructional content coming very, very soon. Just put one out, was it last week, about Sabidi, week before? Not sure, but that's a really, really popular video. What would you like me to make instructional comment videos about? Put a comment down below and let me know what you'd like to do. I'd like to see me do. And then there's also the analytical videos, analysis videos that I do. I am going to get my words out today and in the right order, I promise. All right. The analysis videos like I did of the All Japan Championship finals just the other week as well. That was a really, really fun and popular video. If you like all of these things, they come at you completely free of charge. There's no membership costs. There's no monthly recurring charge. We don't charge you for subtitles, nothing like that. Here's the great news. It's a win-win situation because to support this channel, all you have to do is shop at KendoStar.com. Now, KendoStar is the best Kendo equipment website in the history, future, and everything else of the galaxy, human race, everything. It's the best ever. All right. Now, I would say that because I own the place, but everybody agrees with me. Everybody agrees with me. Okay. You're going to shop with us in the end anyway. All right. So don't buy twice. Buy right first time round. Okay. We're an established brand, especially for the international community. All right. We're not just middlemen drop shipping to you from the other side of the world or working out of our sort of living rooms or something like that. Full team of staff ready to serve you. You get the best quality equipment, best quality service, and you support the channel as well. Okay, it's triple win. All right, that's KendoStar.com. All right, so with that being said, let's get to these questions. Okay, first one. Hi Fish Sensei, I have a Bogu related question. I hope you can help me. I have an old set about 7 years with me, and God knows how much more it was with the previous owner. Okay, when I bought it, it was a very good set, and it was doing pretty well for a used Bogu. Okay, so you bought it new, and you've had it for 7 years. Okay. But as time went by, it's getting harder and harder to dry after practice. Now in Brazil, we are in raining season. As you can imagine, it's pretty humid. Yeah. After practice, I let it dry as good as I can. But a few days after it's dry to the touch, when I go to put it in my bag, it feels a little humid to the touch. Is there a possibility that it's absorbing the air moisture? How can I avoid this? I heard some people use silica or charcoal in their bags to avoid humidity on their Bogu. I hope you can help me whilst I wait a few months buy a pretty new KendoStar set. Yeah. Thank you very much. Good. Okay. So, I'm just to confirm here, right? You're drying it out, and after it's dry, you then putting it in your bag, and then when you go to get out of the bag, it's humid. Because I think that's probably the problem, right? That's probably the problem if that's what's happening. Because yeah, it will be, you know, it'll be hot and stuffy inside the bag with the air temperature and the humidity in the air. So I wouldn't recommend that if that's what you're doing. All right, just leave it out of the bag until you're about to go to practice. Then put it in the bag. Don't use the bag for storage. All right. Let me give you a hot take. All right. Bogu bags are not for storage. Okay, they're not for storage. They're for transport. All right, they're for transporting your Bogu to and from the dojo. They're not for storing the Bogu in. Okay. So if that's the case, that will be it. In any case, I definitely think that using like those little silica packs or some dried charcoal could help. But obviously it is going to be absorbing some moisture from the air because it is basically thick padded cotton, isn't it? So it does have the tendency to absorb moisture in that way. But yeah, if you're putting it in the bag, zipping the bag up and then leaving it in there, yeah, I can imagine that's where it's going to be a problem, right? So my recommendation is leave it out of the bag as long as you can. Okay. Next one. Hi Fish Sense, I have a unique question about foot care. Okay. Around this time of year, my feet get extremely hard and dry, which makes it difficult to stay grounded, grip the floor and push off my left foot. Sometimes it's so bad that I slide around the dojo or slip and fall. In contrast, during a humid or moist summer day, I can firmly push off my left foot and my keiko feels great. Sometimes it helps to dampen my feet with a wet towel or tenuguri, but this is only temporary, not ideal in most situations. Any advice on foot care and keeping the feet moisturized? It's a really tough one, isn't it? I have a similar issue, to be honest. I think there are like foot creams and stuff that will moisturize and soften the skin on your feet, which probably will help. I've got a very thick layer of dead skin on the sole of my left foot, so I have I have a difficult problem getting that skin to absorb moisture. So if the floors are slippery, then yeah, I do struggle with that quite significantly. I don't like it, but yeah, I think if you can get yourself like a good, like kind of softening or moisturizing cream, that might help. And I'd probably like not just apply it before practice. You're probably better doing it every day, as a sort of like precaution. But yeah, and definitely using like a wet towel during the practice as well, to keep your feet damp. I definitely think is definitely helpful. I think it definitely gets harder in the colder months though. Next one. Hello, Andy Sensei. I hope everything's fine. A quick Kendo related question here. What specific bamboo variety is used for bamboo do-dai slates? Thank you. Okay, so you're talking about when they make a bamboo door, the actual staves that they use in the bamboo door. What specific type of bamboo do they use? I expect it really depends on the specific sort of maker. I think in general they will use Madake bamboo. However, having said that, I don't think it makes a big difference. I don't think you're going to have a different finish or different quality whether the bamboo is actually Madake or Keichiku, but I'm pretty sure for the most part they're using Madake bamboo. Now, for the people who don't know, Madake is the Japanese species of bamboo, and Keichiku is a Taiwanese species of bamboo. Okay, it's a species that's native to each respective country. Doesn't mean it's necessarily grown there. It just means that that's where the species originates from. All right, so there's plenty of Madake, for example, that's grown in China and other Asian countries, and same with Keichiku. Okay. Keichiku tends to be a little bit more flexible, whereas Madake tends to be a little bit more rigid. Okay. Sensei, about halfway through practice last week, a very senior sensei stopped me and he held up three fingers and he said, Kendo must be three things. 1, Kendo must be correct. 2, Kendo must be strong. 3, Kendo must be beautiful. If it's missing one of those 3, it's not Kendo. His statement hit me like a punch to the face, and it was a very zen moment. For days, these words have smoldered in my brain. I'm inexperienced, but I'm learning about the first 2. However, I'm still trying to discover what will make my Kendo beautiful. If you don't mind sharing, what in your experience creates beauty in Kendo, and what have you done to cultivate it? Thank you. I think number 1 and 2 equal number 3. In lots of ways. Me, the most beautiful Kendo is correct and strong. But strong doesn't necessarily mean like, I mean, powerful is part of it, but it doesn't mean like physically rough, right? It has to be elegant, you know what I'm saying? And I think the term correct is also very, very grey. And I think it's open to a little bit of misinterpretation. I don't think, for example, for Kendo to be beautiful, you always have to be rigid. I don't think it has to be rigid, all right? Which I think some people have a tendency to do that when they overemphasize correctness. Of course, it shouldn't be like this sort of thing, But for Kendo to be correct, it has to start with the lower body with correct footwork. If a Kendoka has correct footwork, they generally have beautiful Kendo. Generally, if their footwork's lacking, they tend to try to cover it in other areas, and that kind of messes with the overall process, the overall system. It messes with the equation, shall we say. So I think that's the one thing I would take. And when I say footwork, it's not just the actual feet. It's about using the lower body as a whole, using the hips properly, these sort of things at the moment of striking. But it's not just, like I say, it's not too rigid either. So, you know, like, I think there's a tendency to get carried away with like the term posture. For example, I don't think it takes away from the beauty of Kendo. For example, if somebody makes a strike and then makes an evasion, I don't think that's necessarily a problem, depending on the context. Especially if it's like a kote strike, it's normal to evade a little bit. You know, if you're like hitting men like this, then that's not right. But there's not, you know, I just think it shouldn't be too rigid, you know, which is what I think people tend to get a little bit, you know, like if you're so rigid that it's easy to hit you, I don't think you can call that beautiful Kendo either. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's beautiful, but it's really weak. It's not right either, is it? Do you know what I mean? So, it has to be correct and it has to be strong. And when I say strong, yeah, it has to be powerful, but from the lower body, and effective. Effective, I think is a better term. It's no good having really beautiful kamae and stuff like that, but like your Kendo's completely ineffective. It's no, I wouldn't describe that as beautiful Kendo either, to be honest. And I think if you care too much about it, sometimes what I have seen is people caring too much about the aesthetic, like the outward appearance, and having nothing underneath. It's like an empty shell. I've seen that quite a lot, and it definitely doesn't lead to effective or strong Kendo either. I definitely wouldn't say that's correct. All right, but you know, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about not fully understanding it yet. You'll gain an appreciation of it as you gain more experience. Okay. Next one. Sensei, how is your 7th Dan exam preparation going? I watched your previous videos and your exam might be this year. It's nearly the end of the year, so I ask, in case you took the promotion test already, be nice if you could share your experience. Thanks. Okay. I haven't taken the exam yet. I'm not eligible actually yet. I'm eligible quite soon. I'm intentionally going to be a little bit non-specific on that. In terms of how my preparation is going, I think my preparation could be said to be going as well as could be expected, which is that one, obviously, I don't live in Japan at the moment, so it's a slightly more limit. I have somewhat limited access to Kendo teachers who are able to be motodachi for me. I have obviously much less access to peers who I can practice with, who are also looking to challenge the same level as I am. But with those things considered, I'd say it's going okay. As I say, going as well as could be expected. I'd say that further to that, the exam itself is very hard. It has a very low pass rate. It's about 20%, something like that. So most people fail. I'm very acutely aware of that. So yeah, I'm doing my best with it. I hope I have the right idea of what I need to do. And I think that's the key to passing the grading exam. I'll go on a bit of a tangent here, but I think one of the things we tend to be a little bit overly reliant on is, like I just said about, you notice when I said about how I have a limited access to teachers who can be motodachi for me. That's what I said. So what I mean by that is who can give the keiko to me. It's not because I want to ask them advice. Okay. Now it's not that I wouldn't appreciate advice from the Hachidan senseis. I would, of course, and I care about it and listen to it. All right. But it's not advice that is gonna, or feedback in that sense, that's necessarily going to help me pass the exam. And I think that's one of the things that we kind of get a bit confused on, to be honest. Am I back in focus yet? There we go. There we go, right. We get a bit confused on. We tend to be very driven by feedback, give me advice, feedback, give me advice. And obviously advice is important and stuff like that. But I think especially in terms of grading exams, it's not really about what advice or feedback I get. It's about, I should know already what I need to do. I should understand that. And then it's a case of whether I'm able to perform that during the test or not. And then I'll know after the test if I feel like I've been successful or not, and I should have a good idea. Now, if I come off the test and feel, yeah, okay, I think that was a really positive, I'd managed to do everything I wanted to, and then it's not successful, then obviously I've got a misunderstanding of what it is that's required. And then I'll have to study. But I have to come to that conclusion myself, I still feel like, rather than go and ask some sensei, oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And of course, you know, I would take on board any comments like that, and I would value it. Don't get me wrong in that regard. I'm not saying that. But my progress shouldn't center around that. And it's interesting because the other day I was looking at something, and in the Japanese grading system for 6th dan and above, the All Japan Kendo Federation gradings, you can get a feedback postcard. All right, so you can leave your address with the grading officials, and they will post you a card with feedback. However, the feedback is literally it's very, it's not individual. You get a rank A, B, or C. If it's A, it says nearly. B, it says sort of not quite, and C says you're not ready. It just says that. It just says that. So it's more of an indication as to how close you are to whether you've got it right, or whether you were able to do it or not, rather than detailed, like, right, well, your left foot was doing this and you didn't show enough seme here or something like that. Now, it depends, you know, like I say, it is important to get help and or take on advice from other people if you can. But I think it's really important that, especially like at the higher levels, 6th dan plus, you have to understand yourself what it is that you have to do. And then when you do, after the grading, you should have a good sense of it, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. That's how I feel about it right now. Right, okay, next one. Hello again, Sensei. I hope you are well and not too busy or busy, whichever is better for you. So the question I've recently been actively thinking about, where is it appropriate to put tension in your body while doing Kendo? Heard different things. One of my senseis talking about bracing your abdomen to create a stable core, like in Olympic weightlifting, which I've tried but found that it restricts my breathing, as Olympic weightlifting movements are momentary and not designed for prolonged bracing. I've also heard an opinion that the tension should be just under the tanden area, but in this case, I'm not sure how to feel or do that. So any advice on that would be super welcome. Another item is a question on how tense the left leg is. There is one interesting video online by Kendo Nippon in July with Sakurai sensei, who describes how the movement should be generated from the tendons, brackets Ken, our legs instead of our musculature. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, and if you have any tips on hip positioning for bracing and generating that explosive Shunpatsuteki movement forward. I'm sorry for such a weird question, but I recently started thinking about my lower body movement and tension placement, and I'm trying to gather as many opinions as possible. Edit Kendo, do Kendo. Why are you not doing Kendo? Kendo, hashtag Kendo. Okay. So, where should you have tension? I mean, right. So this sort of abdomen tandem type thing, I think it's definitely a thing, but I don't really, I think that once you enter into your sort of, what do you call it? Like your interaction with your partner, I think naturally you're gonna develop some tension there through the stress of the situation, or you should do. Yeah. You know, there is a bit of tension where these sort of muscles or this area sort of tenses. And there is a point in terms of breathing as well. You don't want to be like breathing in and out when you're in this position, right? This is a point where you don't really, you want to be sort of holding, ready to go. Yeah, and that's sort of similar to what you're mentioning with terms of sort of the weightlifting stuff. I don't really know much about that, so I'm not going to say that too much. But I don't think like the time that you should be in that position isn't prolonged, right? Like it's from like getting to here and then hitting, right? You're not going to spend a massive amount of time there for the most part. I definitely agree on the tendons bit though in your left leg. Your left leg should be tense pretty much all the time, pushing towards the floor, and it's your tendons that are doing the work, definitely. That's why tendon injuries are very, very common in Kendo, right? And that's why you have to take care of them. Make sure you stretch them properly, make sure you strengthen them properly. It's very, 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 very important. And it's that gives you that explosive movement. Okay, is through having that. And then the last thing I'd say is your left hand as well. You need to make sure that your left hand is at the moment of interaction that you've got tension in your left hand, especially in your little finger and ring finger. To some extent, your third finger as well, but not your right hand so much. That's just at the moment of striking, both hands. But yeah, I like the idea, the description, sorry, of the tendons of the legs. All right. I think if you manage that, and you're locked in with your concentration, the tension in your abdomen and tandem will come naturally. All right. I wouldn't overthink that too much right now if I was you. I think it comes naturally. All right. Next one. Hello, little question about Uchiwa material. Can you explain the difference between cotton and technet mesh? Thank you for all the info you shared with us. I thought we talked about this quite recently, but the Uchiwa is the ring inside the men that sits on your face. Okay. There's different materials for this. Cotton and cotton, for example, cotton's a sort of more traditional one. I think it's not quite as soft. I find the technic one a little bit softer on the skin, but I'd say the cotton one is probably a little bit more durable. Though there's not a lot in it. There's not a lot in it in terms of durability. It's really going to come down to what you prefer the feel of against your skin. If you prefer that sort of synthetic polyester feel, which is what you get from the Technit, which is going to dry faster as well. Or if you prefer the sort of more traditional cotton feel, if you want something that feels a little bit more sort of natural, then the cotton one is the one to go for. All right. There's other materials as well, like a lot of our KendoStar lineup uses like an antibacterial felt called Sillead, and that's like a kind of soft, it's not felt, sorry, it's more like velvet in a way. It's not velvet, but it's like that kind of material. And that's very soft against the skin as well, and it's got sort of antibacterial properties too. Okay, and that's another option that we have on some of our Bogu sets. But if you're looking at the made in Japan stuff, that generally is between cotton and technit. So yeah, it's just about how it feels on the skin is the main thing, and if it's something you make a big note of. Hi there, Fish Sensei. I hope you're well. Firstly, I'd quickly thank you for the excellent content on your YouTube channel. I've really benefited from the wisdom and advice you've regularly shared during my Kendo journey so far. Great, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you very much. I'm currently preparing to attempt my Nidan exam, my Nidan grading in February 2025. I'm training 3 times a week and I feel I've been making good progress, reinforced by the feedback I've received from my instructors. However, I'm keen to be as well prepared as I can be, so I'd like to ask for some advice about what the expectations are for Nidan grading and what would you be looking for from a successful candidate during the Jitsuki, please. My understanding is the expectations for Nidan are to be capable of successfully executing Renzoku waza, and that my Kendo should generally be more refined with improved technique over where I was when I passed Shodan. CRISPR is a word which I've heard used. Can you add some detail and some understanding based on your own experience and opinion, please? Okay, yeah, so I hear this a lot in terms of like, I often hear this like, oh, you have to show you can do Nidan waza or Renzoku waza for Nidan. I don't massively subscribe to that. It doesn't actually say that in the guidelines from what I remember. For me, right, if you're going for Nidan, what I want to see is that you're able to do more than just the basic men strike, okay? Because Shodan exams tend to be, yeah, man, a bit like an EQ exam. It tends to be the same thing. You've been Shodan for a year at this point, all right? I want to see that you know more than that, okay? That you can do different, you know, more than just the men strike, okay? I don't need to see a massive repertoire of loads of techniques, all right? But I want to see that you're capable of what you're doing now is starting to look like Kendo Keiko rather than just step in, hit men and repeat. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I want to see good Kikentai no Ichi and a good, yeah, it has to look like you've made progress from Shodan level as well, of course. All right, now it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be an obvious step forward from what we would expect from a Shodan candidate. But yeah, that's it really. It's kind of straightforward in my opinion. But I don't like the concept of saying you have to do X waza or Y waza. I don't like that. So I wouldn't ever say that to somebody. If you have the opportunity to do Renzoku waza, fine, but you might not. So it's not bad to show it, you know. And it's good way in a way, like I say, because as I say, I want to see that you're doing more than just a men strike and repeat. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. You're practicing 3 times a week. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. Okay. But without seeing, I can't say anything more detailed than that. But that's generally what I'd be looking for. Okay. Next one, dear Sensei, asking for a friend. When a men creaks when you hold it and apply pressure, is it time to get a new one? How do we know if and when a Bogu part is nearing the end of its Kendo life and retired to use for striking dummy? It depends where it's creaking when you squeeze it and stuff, but it's not that unusual because of the way a men is made. You know, there are some parts of a men that actually do move a little bit, so it's not that unusual if it has little creaking noises if you start pressing on it and stuff like that. So I wouldn't necessarily take that as a signifier. But if all the materials are starting to get ripped and battered and stuff like that, and it's starting to run down, then that's one indicator. Another, of course, is like if the ago is starting to fall off and stuff like that, obviously. I think there's obvious signs, right? If a mengan is broken or bent, these sort of things, and then but she's starting to get, you know, battered. These are the things I'd say are where the men is definitely at the end of its life. But you know, repairs can be made, of course. But it depends. Depends on you really, how you feel like. I think for the most part, you know, most of us replace our Bogu before we definitely need to, but it gets to a point where you think, right, okay, I'm getting ready for a new one. And you could say the same for clothing, right? You could say the same for clothing. I think it's the same sort of idea. Okay. Okay, last one. Hi Fish Sensei. First of all, the Kamui Umbra set is beautiful, and anyone who didn't pick it up is missing out. Okay, it is a great set. It is a great set. It is a great set. For those of you who missed out, I'm sorry. It was such a lovely set. But there's other great alternatives. All right, there's other great alternatives. To my question, due to an injury, my husband recently had to switch to jodan. After more than a few minutes, strikes from chudan became painful, and it seems like it will have to be a permanent change after consulting a doctor for him to continue. He's planning to test for second dan early next year and doesn't know whether he should push the few minutes for the test in chudan or try to test in jodan. He's completely switched to jodan for practice, so he's not sure he would have enough practice time in chudan between now and then. What do you recommend? Ooh, that's a hard question. That's really a question for the sort of people who are likely to be on a grading panel in your area. But I'm not averse to people taking the grading in jodan if you're confident you can pass the grading. If you believe you can demonstrate what you need to demonstrate from the jodan, then do it in jodan. I don't see why not. And especially Nidan. At Nidan, you know, at Nidan, I don't think it's necessarily going to mess it up for other people either. They should really have some sense of how to deal with it. So, you know, I don't personally think it's a huge problem. I wouldn't like hold it against somebody by virtue of the fact they're doing jodan. Now, if they're doing jodan and not very good at jodan, then that's different. That's whether they're meeting the criteria for the grading or not. But I'm not going to be like, oh, this one's jodan, right? Okay, well, they're starting off on a bad foot. I don't attest to that sort of idea. So for me, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a huge problem as long as he's confident that he can meet the criteria from his jodan position. Okay, that's where I fall on that one. And there we go. We're at the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining me today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Shop at KendoStar. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.